Next city, Singapore. It would be silly to ask the question why Singapore if you're in Southeast Asia. Like, you have to be there if you have the time. So there is no why Singapore. But what were your first impressions of Singapore, and what would you say sort of stuck with you being in the city?
Singapore, I think I heard how clean and orderly and all that Singapore is. Nothing prepares you for actually being in Singapore. Like, even the quality of the taxis, it stands out. Like, everything is a step ahead, in terms of the order, the structure. It just feels rich. Well, certainly in the parts of Singapore that we were at, it has a luxurious feel about it. I think it's Singapore that's even they're really picky on how many suitcases they put in their taxi and all of that. So there's just a touch of luxury. I think that was my first impression of Singapore.
How did you even get in here? I came in and introduced myself to your flatmate and she let me in. That's what I was supposed to call me the chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Which chicken?
I'm supposed to come and present your family with live chicken. You want to say it to me?
Yeah?
You want to say it?
Looking, then flipping this to your upbringing and comparing this to your 20s.
Yeah.
What parallels would you draw with Singaporean life?
Singapore has a good mix of hustle and chilling. In your 20s, or certainly I'll speak for my 20s, that was the beginning of our adulting life, so you're still trying to make it, so you're trying to hustle, try to climb up on the career ladder, that sort of thing. But at the same time, that's where I would say for me anyway, I played or partied, or I was the most carefree, sort of. Because you don't really you're not a full adult yet. So when we played hard, but at the same time you're at the bottom of your career so you had to work hard as well. So Singapore gave me that kind of vibe, like during the day, like it totally transforms. Like there's people in suits everywhere, it's like maybe because where we stayed as well seemed like the equivalent of Canary Wharf, so it was like really buzzing. And that was what our early 20s was like, isn't it? That's when you're just starting, you're trying to climb the career ladder, you're pushing to get, graduate schemes or whatever kind of job it was. And then at night, it totally changes. There is a lot of fun, there's the casino, there is this, there's that. So that's what I would say was the parallel with my 20s. It's so vibrant, Singapore. Well, I've said what stood out for me. What would you say stood out for you?
We spent a lot of time in Marina Sands.
Yes.
Which felt like we were always drawn there. We had a typical Nigerian group. We had shoppers. We had some people who loved their designers on there. So we're making the back and forth trips. It was about a 20-minute walk, about a 7-8 minute taxi. So that was happening regularly. But the one thing that stood out for me was we went to, I'd always wanted to go to Sentosa Island. I'd heard about it. Oh, yeah. And it's a group of 3 islands, from what I understand. So we just thought, actually, let's see what it's like. And it was on our chill day, because with every city we had a chill day. It wasn't necessarily the best beach. It was a nice looking beach, and it have the bluest waters and stuff like that. Certainly not compared to what we had seen. But it was such a calming experience, and we were in this beach club, and spent the afternoon there, a couple of hours there, and I just found it so calming. We'd had a busy day on the day we'd been to, at least in the previous sort of 24 hours, we'd been to like Chinatown and a couple of trips to Marina Bay Sands. So it was really, so I would say the highlight for me was finding calm in such a busy city. And to have calm within a 15-minute drive was what I found really surprising. That how have you been able to sort of carve this area out from, as you said, 15 minutes from the equivalent of like a Canary Wharf. So I think that was, for me, the highlight.
Yeah.
Of being there, just experiencing something that I just did not associate with Singapore.
Do you remember those were they Sundays, that ice cream thing or the milkshake thing that we had?
Was that your highlight?
It was one of the
I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you.
But I've never seen anything like it. Like, it's a milkshake topped with a full cake on the top of it. I've never seen anything like this. Even in the States, I'm not sure they have things that are that huge. Honestly, when it came out, I'm like, who is expected to finish this? And I went back the next day and I bought another one.
Coming back to your growing up in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Something that, this is me speaking for you because obviously we met in your 20s. We met in our 20s. And there may be a parallel to draw with Singapore. There might not be, but this was the year where I can say we both found God.
Yes.
We had known God, we had known of God, but we had never properly or individually sort of like really built or had a proper walk with God. And I put this down to, communities and mentorship that we had. So something that was unique in I guess our 20s as well, because obviously we were sort of 20s mostly about the same time, was God. And I think the reason I mentioned that is that then became key to subsequent phases in our lives. And obviously we still have phases to go by God's grace, but fundamentally that was where we started the walk with God. And really I think that has set the tone for life since then. But obviously, big highlight as well. When you say like Singapore being a big highlight, everyone says, oh, if you're in that region, you have to go to Singapore. It's
Absolutely.
Amazing and stuff. And again, drawing a parallel with life experiences, that's the decade we got married. That's the decade we had our first child.
Just about.
We just snuck one in.
Just about.
So yeah, in terms of like big events, and it was the decade that started big events in that sense, big milestones for us. So yeah, I think I was just reflecting on that.
Yeah, it was a decade of firsts, let's put it that way. And the start of things that shaped the rest of, or that is shaping the rest of our lives. We've talked about how fab it was. Is there anything that didn't quite go the way you wanted, or what was the low for you?
So I wouldn't say, well, one low for me was, this was then where we lost people who had been so intrinsic to the planning and you know, a couple that had been so close to us, well, that are so close to us, but had been part of, I literally remember us being in their lounge a couple of months before thinking, okay, how do we structure the outfits? How do we do this? How do we do that? So for it to have come to an end was sad. And again, the fact that they couldn't make the next city, which was the final city, was okay, and in fairness, we're thrown that city in as a last minute. So that was one downer for me. Again, goodbyes, but the goodbyes have to be said, as painful as they are. The other thing, which wasn't like a massive thing for me, but I'd heard so much about the Singapore airport. I'd heard it was fantastic. It's one of the baddest airports you can see in the world. I saw the water show or whatever the thing is, and I was like, okay, what else? So I saw some things that they had put out, but to be honest, I was underwhelmed. It wasn't a terrible airport, don't get me wrong. I actually felt like I enjoyed the feel, as opposed to features, feel of the airport coming in. Like I enjoyed that, or I liked what I felt, and maybe it had some promise for me compared to going out. Now, there was nothing about it that felt special coming in, but I just felt like, oh, okay, this feels nice. I'd like to see the other side when I'm going. Is it the red carpet, or just the fairly basic, well, not lounges, but yeah, lounges? There was nothing. I didn't feel like it had the hype was not met, basically.
In fairness to the airport, though, I think we didn't spend enough time.
A great airport doesn't need you to go and do research.
No, not research, but I feel like we didn't, because there was that bit that has different floors and the shopping and what have you. Maybe we didn't go.
We saw the no, but yeah, that water thing. It wasn't bad. It was nice. Okay, it was nice for an airport. So.
But I don't know. Maybe when they say best in the world, that bit maybe is my expectation of it. It was like, oh, is that it? But I would say we didn't explore the full airport, so maybe there is a bit that we didn't see. But to be honest, I think it's like Dubai airport as well. There was all this hype about it, and when I went to Dubai, I was like, is this it? So maybe it's just when people overhype something, it just doesn't quite meet there.
To be honest, I think there's a couple of things I've seen online which I didn't see in person. So you're right, there might be layers to it. But anyways, that was just a minor, what I'll say,
low.
Not even a low, like just disappointment.